I've spent years pretending what happened that night never existed. Smiling in family photos, laughing at work, playing the role everyone needed me to play. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. The sound that told me everything I thought I knew about someone I loved was a lie. I never told the police. I never told anyone. And now they sit across from me at every holiday dinner, smiling like nothing ever happened. At first, the hospital administration wanted nothing to do with the Evangeline protocol. Too much legal risk, they said. Privacy concerns. Liability nightmares. But after the trials, after the convictions, after the headlines no one could ignore, they caved. They understood. Now we have a secure reporting system tied directly into federal law enforcement databases. If a patient says something suspicious under anesthesia, it doesn't vanish into thin air. It's flagged, investigated, acted on. Last week, I opened a letter from a mother in Oregon. Her little girl had been missing for 3 years, until our network traced her location. "You gave me my daughter back," she wrote. "You gave our family hope again." I keep that letter in my desk. On the worst days, it reminds me why the weight is worth carrying. And yes, I still think about Blackwood, about the way he wore respect like armor. A trusted doctor, a mentor, predator hiding in plain sight. The network we uncovered wasn't made up of strangers in dark alleys. It was doctors, nurses, social workers, police officers, people whose jobs were supposed to keep children safe. That's the danger. Evil doesn't always come with fangs and claws. Sometimes it wears scrubs. Sometimes it carries a stethoscope. But good people can push back. Every day now, healthcare workers around the country are listening harder, asking sharper questions, spotting the red flags most would miss. The tunnels under Memorial are sealed now. Officially, they're storage space. But sometimes, when I'm working late, I'll pass that part of the building and think about what happened down there. About the children who suffered below while life carried on above. Keeps me alert. Keeps me listening. Yesterday, a teenager named Paisley came in for a routine procedure. Under anesthesia, she started whispering about her foster family's photography business. The details were sickening, and specific enough that I reported them the second she was in recovery. She didn't remember saying a word, just asked if the surgery had gone well. I smiled, told her it had, and made sure my report went straight into the system. In a few days she might be free, all because she spoke the truth while unconscious. The Evangeline protocol has spread to hospitals in 12 states. Hundreds of medical professionals trained to recognize the difference between meaningless sedation rambling and a trauma confession fighting its way out. We estimate at least 200 children have been pulled from danger so far. It's not enough. It will never feel like enough. But it's a start. Every time I put someone under, I lean in. I listen. Because you never know whose whispered words might be the lifeline that pulls a child back from the edge. The work goes on. The listening never stops. And somewhere out there, another child might be going home tonight because someone was paying attention. That's worth the sleepless nights. Worth the therapy sessions. Worth the way these stories live in my bones. Because Evangeline was right from the very beginning. The children in the walls were hungry. But now, we're finally feeding them justice instead of fear. Luna sends me a Christmas card every year. This time it had a drawing of a doctor with a stethoscope and 5 small words in careful handwriting. "Thank you for listening." It's taped to my desk at the hospital. A reminder of why I keep doing this. A reminder that some voices can only speak in the dark, and someone has to be there to hear them. The truth has a way of finding daylight, even when consciousness can't set it free. 18 years. That's how long I've been putting people under anesthesia. In that time, I've heard it all: strange rambling, confessions that make you raise an eyebrow, random nonsense patients never remember saying. But nothing has ever stuck with me the way this did. Her name was Evangeline, 34 years old, scheduled for an emergency gallbladder removal. Her husband, Dorian, was in the waiting room, spinning his wedding ring around his finger like he couldn't sit still. They seemed normal. Ordinary couple, ordinary surgery. or so I thought. We started the sedation. As the propofol made its slow climb through her veins, her eyelids fluttered. Her breathing softened. Then, without warning, she spoke. "The children in the walls are getting hungry," she whispered. Calm. Too calm. "Dorian feeds them every Tuesday. 3 little ones. Behind the kitchen cabinets." I froze for a second, glancing at the surgical team. People say odd things when they're going under, dreams, jumbled words. But before I could even brush it off, "Tell Detective Morrison about the playground. The one that burned down 15 years ago. Dorian was there with the gasoline." My hands stopped cold over the monitoring equipment. Detective Morrison was real. I'd seen him on the news, the man who chased unsolved cases that never let go. Then she said something that made the air in the room feel heavy. "He keeps their shoes in the basement freezer. 23 pairs. All different sizes." A bead of sweat ran down my neck. The OR was dead silent, except for the steady beep of the monitor. Tears slid from her closed eyes. I tried to stop him after the first one, but he said he'd hurt me too. "I've been pretending for 12 years. The head surgeon, Dr. Patel, gave me a quick nod to deepen her sedation. But before I could, she pushed out one last fragment. "There's a hidden room behind our bedroom closet. That's where he takes them before." Her voice broke. She went limp. We finished the surgery without complications, but her words rattled around my skull like trapped hornets. When she came to in recovery, I couldn't help myself. "Evangeline, do you remember anything you said before we started?" She blinked at me, clearly confused. "Just counting backwards from 10. "Why?" I hesitated. "You mentioned some children and Detective Morrison." Her face drained of color so fast I thought she might pass out again. She gripped my wrist, nails digging in. "What exactly did I say?" Before I could answer, Dorian walked in. Bright smile, bouquet in hand. "How's my beautiful wife?" he asked, leaning down to kiss her forehead. Her expression smoothed into something practiced. "Much better now," she lied, voice sweet. But her eyes locked on mine over his shoulder. The fear there, it wasn't just fear. It was pleading. That night I didn't sleep. I dug into the playground fire she mentioned. 15 years ago, 7 children died in the blaze. Case unsolved. Then I searched missing children from the past 12 years in our area. 23 cases. All unsolved. I called Detective Morrison's tip line. Left an anonymous message with Dorian's address. 2 days later, the headlines exploded. Local man arrested in connection with historic child murders. Evidence recovered from hidden basement room. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Thank you for saving me," Evangeline's voice whispered. "Are you safe?" I asked, already on edge. "For now. But there's something else." Dorian wasn't alone. A cold wave passed over me. His brother, Caspian, works the night shift at the children's hospital. And there's a third partner. Someone you know. My throat went dry. "Who?" Her voice dropped even lower. "Someone at your hospital. Someone with access to patient records. Someone who's been watching you since Tuesday." The line went dead. I just sat there, in my kitchen, my heart pounding in my ears. Exposing Dorian hadn't ended anything. It had just cracked the surface of something much worse. Then, movement outside my window. A shadow. Stopped. Stood there for 30 long seconds, then slipped away into the night. I reached for my phone. Morrison's number was on the screen. My thumb hovered over call. But then a thought hit me. What if the person watching me was Morrison? I turned off every light, locked every door twice, and sat in darkness. Sleep wasn't even an option. Every creak of the house, every passing car made my adrenaline spike. By 3 a.m. I gave up. Made coffee. Opened my laptop. I started with Caspian. The hospital site listed him as a night orderly in pediatrics. 5 years, clean record. On paper, perfect. But that didn't mean anything now. Then I went deeper into the playground fire. Buried in old news archives, I found something chilling. The fire started near the equipment shed, But here's the detail that stopped me cold. The night it happened, there was a private city council meeting about tearing the playground down. Only 12 people even knew about it. One of them was Dr. Kenneth Blackwood, chief anesthesiologist, my mentor, the man who'd gotten me this job, the man who had unrestricted access to every patient file, every surgery schedule. And yes, he would have known Evangeline's case, that she was married to Dorian. Everything. I slammed the laptop shut, then opened it again because I had to be sure. Blackwood had been at this hospital for 23 years. That's every single missing child case in our city. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stop digging. Or join them. I snapped a screenshot and uploaded it to 3 different cloud accounts. If something happened to me, there would be a trail. Then I drove straight to the police station. Morrison was slouched at his desk, gray stubble, coffee stains, eyes like he hadn't slept in days. "I'm the one who called about Dorian," I said. His gaze sharpened. "The anonymous tipster." I told him my name, my job, and I told him everything Evangeline had said under sedation. When I mentioned Blackwood, his jaw tightened. "We've wondered how they chose victims," he said. "Dorian worked construction, but he somehow knew which kids wouldn't be missed. Foster kids, runaways, kids from unstable homes," I replied. Their medical records would have told him exactly that. Blackwood has access to every anesthesia case, every patient's background. Morrison nodded grimly. "We'll need hard evidence. I can get it, but they're watching me. I need protection." That night, plainclothes officers sat outside my house while I went to work. Blackwood was there when I arrived, smiling like nothing had changed. "Feeling better?" he asked casually. "Much better," I lied, but I noticed him watching me all evening. When I checked the schedule, I saw he'd assigned himself to assist on all my cases for the rest of the week. That had never happened before. At 8:45, he packed up his things. "Don't stay too late," he said, pausing at my desk. "This place can be dangerous after hours." Those words sent a chill straight down my spine. I waited until 9:15, logged into his computer using my override access. And what I found was so much worse than I ever could have imagined. Patient files. Dozens of them. But these weren't the clean, official charts I was used to. These had handwritten notes scrawled in the margins, red marks next to kids from unstable homes, and a separate hidden database tucked away in a folder blandly labeled recreational activities. I clicked it open, and there they were. 23 smiling children, every single one from the missing persons list. At first glance, they looked like innocent family snapshots, except they'd all been taken in the same place, the hidden room Evangeline had described under sedation. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely drag the files onto a secure drive. Then my stomach dropped. The newest entry wasn't old. It was from 3 days ago. A girl, 10 years old. Name, Luna Rodriguez. Scheduled for an appendectomy next Tuesday. The notes beside her name? Foster care. Recently placed. Minimal family oversight. I grabbed my phone and called Morrison. "I've got everything. Photos, files, and they're targeting another child next week." His voice sharpened instantly. "Get out of there now. Backup's on the way." But the moment I hung up, the hallway lights went out. Somewhere in the darkness, footsteps began, slow, deliberate, heading straight toward the anesthesia department. Clutching the drive, I made for the emergency stairwell. It was pitch black. My hand slid along the rail, my breath catching with every step. A door banged shut above me. Then another set of footsteps, lighter, faster. "She's in the stairwell," a man's voice shouted. Not Blackwood. Younger. I bolted down the last flight, shoved through the exit into the parking garage. Dim light. My car 50 yards away. I sprinted. An engine roared behind me. Headlights flared as a white van swung around the corner. I dove between 2 parked cars as it tore past, then broke into a dead run for my Honda. My fingers fumbled the keys, the van screeching to a stop at the end of my row. 2 figures got out. Dr. Blackwood, and a younger man in scrubs I'd never seen before. I slammed the car into gear and peeled toward the exit, tires screaming. In the mirror, the van gave chase, but then, just as suddenly, it was gone. I called the emergency contact number Morrison had given me. "This is Officer Martinez," a man answered. "Detective Morrison's en route." "Where are you?" "Leaving the hospital garage." They were right behind me in a white van. "Head straight to the station. Don't stop anywhere." I pushed the car as fast as I dared, but by the time I hit Main Street, the van had disappeared completely. Then Morrison called. "Where's the van?" "Gone. It just vanished." "That's bad," he muttered. "They'll be cleaning house now. How fast can you get here?" 12 minutes later, I walked into the station. Morrison was waiting, this time with a federal agent named Phillips. A stone-faced man who looked like smiling wasn't in his vocabulary. "We need that evidence drive," Phillips said without preamble. I handed it over. Within minutes, they had a warrant for Blackwood's arrest. But when they hit his house, empty, stripped bare, not a trace left behind. "He's running," Morrison said grimly. "But we've got enough for warrants. The photos match 5 of the missing kids." "What about Luna Rodriguez?" I demanded. "She's still on the surgery schedule." "She'll be protected," Morrison promised. "They won't make a move now." I wanted to believe him. But these people had hidden in plain sight for over a decade. They weren't just going to give up. The next morning I stayed home at first, but every hour that passed, the guilt gnawed at me. Surgeries were still happening. Patients still needed care. And if I stayed away too long, the wrong people would start asking questions. By afternoon, I went in. Morrison arranged 2 officers to shadow me. The hospital felt different, colder. Conversations stopped when I walked past. Nurses huddled together, whispering. Word had leaked. Blackwood had vanished. Dr. Patel found me in the break room. "Rachel, what's going on?" "Kenneth missed all his morning cases. Nobody can reach him." "I don't know," I lied smoothly. "Family emergency, maybe." But she didn't look convinced. "His emergency contacts haven't heard from him either. And security says his office computer's been wiped." That afternoon, I was paired with Dr. Walsh for a routine gallbladder removal. Our patient, Trevor, was middle-aged, jittery, eyes darting everywhere. "First surgery?" I asked while starting his 4. "Second," he said. "Had my appendix out when I was a kid. Different hospital, charity place across town." The way he said it snagged something in my brain, though I couldn't place why. As the sedative took hold, his eyes drifted shut. Then he murmured, almost like talking in his sleep. "The doctor's coming back tonight, new place underground. You can't hear the children crying from down there." My heart stopped. "Trevor, who's coming back?" I asked quietly. "He knows you saw the pictures. He's angry, really angry." Dr. Walsh glanced at me, eyebrows raised. I upped the sedation, but Trevor kept going. "The dark-haired girl, Luna." He moved it up. "Midnight. Old psychiatric hospital on Elm Street." "Trevor, how do you know this?" "I helped him build it. New room, deeper underground." He paid me to keep quiet. We finished the surgery, but my mind was spiraling. When he woke in recovery, I pressed him. "You said something about Luna earlier." His face went pale. "I don't know any Luna." But his eyes, they were terrified. The same look Evangeline had given me. I stepped out and called Morrison. "They've moved her. Old Psych Hospital, Elm Street. Tonight, midnight." "How do you know?" "Another patient under anesthesia. They're using them to pass messages. We'll set up surveillance. But Rachel, stay away. If they know you're listening, you're in their crosshairs." I promised. But that evening, I spotted a blue sedan with tinted windows tailing me all the way home. Not the van, different vehicle. By the time police arrived, it was gone. "Probably nothing," the responding officer said, but he offered extra patrols. At 11 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Dr. Chun. A small, trembling voice. "Yes. Who is this?" "Luna. I'm supposed to be asleep, but I heard them talking. They're coming for me tonight." My blood ran cold. "Where are you?" Foster home. Maple Street. The mean lady's asleep. I'm hiding in her closet with her phone. Luna, you have to call 911 right now. Tell them you're in danger. I did. They said they'd send someone. But no one came. I could barely breathe. Morrison had promised protection. Stay hidden. I'm calling Detective Morrison right now. But his line went straight to voicemail. I called the main police number. This is Dr. Chun. A child named Luna Rodriguez is about to be abducted. The dispatcher's reply turned my stomach. Ma'am, there's no record of anyone by that name in our protective custody. That's impossible. Detective Morrison. Let me transfer you to his supervisor. The supervisor had never heard of Luna, never assigned protection. And Morrison? He'd left work early and wasn't answering his phone. That's when it hit me like a gut punch. Morrison was one of them. Morrison hadn't just been sloppy. He'd played me, got me to hand over every scrap of evidence, smiling the whole time while funneling it straight back to the very network I was trying to destroy. I called Luna's number. No answer. I didn't even think. I just grabbed my keys and hit the road, dialing 911 as I flew down the street. There's an active child abduction at 2847 Maple Street. Send units right now. The dispatcher's voice was maddeningly calm. Ma'am, we received a call about that address earlier. Officers responded. Everything checked out. No, I snapped. Check. Again. But by the time I screeched into the neighborhood, the street was lit up in flashing red and blue. An ambulance was pulling away. I ran to the nearest officer. What happened? Foster mother had a heart attack, he said. Kid's been taken to emergency placement. Where? Which hospital? Memorial. My hospital. They'd delivered Luna straight into Blackwoods territory. I tore back across town, but when I reached the placement ward, the doors were locked. Visiting hours were over. No exceptions. I'm a doctor here, I told the night supervisor, flashing my badge. I need to see Luna Rodriguez. She frowned. We have no patient by that name. She was just brought in. I've been here all night. No children have been admitted. My stomach turned. They'd never put her in the system, which meant she was somewhere else in the building, hidden. I swiped into the restricted areas. Storage rooms, unused wings, maintenance levels. Memorial was over a century old. A patchwork of forgotten hallways and locked rooms. Then I found it fresh construction in the basement. A brand new wall cutting off what used to be a corridor. But it wasn't finished yet, and at the base, a small gap. I got down on my stomach and crawled through. On the other side, my flashlight beam sliced through stale, freezing air. A narrow tunnel stretched ahead. I followed it, heart pounding, until it opened into a room that made me want to be sick. Crayon drawings taped to concrete, thin mattresses on the floor, chains bolted to the walls. It was empty. Then I heard voices, low, male, coming from deeper in the maze. I crept toward them, the passages branching and twisting until I spotted light up ahead. Doctor says wait until 3 a.m., one man was saying. Less chance of interruptions. What about the anesthesiologist? She's becoming a problem. She'll be handled after tonight. Focus. From my hiding spot, I could see into the room. Luna sat in a chair, zip ties cutting into her wrists. She was awake, eyes wide, fighting not to cry. Two men stood with their backs to me, neither one Blackwood. When's the doc getting here? One asked. Soon. He's bringing the equipment. Equipment. My blood ran cold. They were going to operate. Here. I backed away far enough to call the FBI tip line. This is Dr. Rachel Chin. I've located a child trafficking operation under Memorial Hospital, tunnels, basement, northwest wing. A 10-year-old girl named Luna Rodriguez is here right now. The operator's tone shifted. Units are being dispatched. Stay hidden until they arrive. But then Luna screamed. Waiting wasn't an option. I crawled back to a storage alcove I'd passed, grabbed a heavy flashlight, and fished a scalpel from my medkit. Then I returned to the doorway. One of the men was leaning toward her, voice soft and sickening. The doctor just wants to help you sleep. You won't feel a thing. I stepped into the light. Step away from her. They spun. One reached under his jacket. I wouldn't, I said, holding the scalpel steady. I know exactly where to cut to make sure you don't last 30 seconds. The first man's mouth curled. Dr. Chun, you shouldn't be here. Neither should you. Let her go. That's not happening. The second man lunged. I slashed across his forearm, deep. He howled, clutching the wound as blood streamed down. Luna, run. She bolted for the tunnel. The first man tried to grab her, but I swung the flashlight hard into his temple. He crumpled. I chased after her, footsteps multiplying behind us. More men. We hit the main passage, but voices echoed from ahead too. We were trapped. In here, I whispered, pulling her into a narrow side shaft. We crawled in pitch black, Luna shaking against me. After what felt like forever, maybe 10 minutes, we popped out into a storage room I recognized. We were back inside the hospital proper. My phone lit up with 17 missed calls from federal agents. You're safe now, I told her. The FBI is here. But when I cracked the door open, my blood froze. Dr. Blackwood stood in the hallway, smiling like a man welcoming an old friend. Rachel, he said softly, I was wondering when you'd find your way down there. In his hand was a syringe. It's over, I told him, my voice low but steady. The FBI knows everything. Blackwood's smile didn't even twitch. They know what I've allowed them to know. And Detective Morrison has been very helpful in deciding which truths to share. I felt Luna press harder into my back, trembling like a leaf. Let her go, I said. Take me instead. His eyes hardened. Oh, I'm taking both of you. You've caused disruption. That demands a response. The FBI is in this building right now, I said. They're crawling around the basement, he replied almost lazily. They'll find nothing. We've been preparing for this sort of inconvenience for years. He took a step closer, the glint of metal catching the hallway light. A syringe. Run, I whispered to Luna, but there was nowhere to go. He blocked the narrow corridor entirely. This, he said, holding up the syringe, is succinylcholine. You'll be fully conscious. Paralyzed. You'll feel everything. You're a monster, I spat. 23 children, Rachel, he hissed. And you just had to meddle. He lunged. I caught his wrist, both of us fighting for control of the needle. My muscles screamed as we strained against each other. Then Luna's voice shattered the moment. A piercing scream that echoed down the hall. Help! He's trying to hurt us. For just a fraction of a second, his focus slipped. I twisted his wrist hard. The syringe went flying, shattering against the wall. Federal agents. Nobody move. 3 men in tactical gear appeared, rifles up. Blackwood raised his hands slowly, voice dripping with fake relief. Officers, thank God. This woman attacked me. She's been unstable for days. The lead agent glanced at me. Dr. Chun. That's me, I said. He tried to inject me with a paralytic. The agent's eyes flicked to the shattered syringe, then to Blackwood looming over me. His jaw tightened. Dr. Blackwood, you're under arrest. This is a misunderstanding, Blackwood said smoothly. I was trying to sedate a dangerous employee before she harmed the child. They cuffed him anyway. As they led him past, he leaned just close enough for me to hear. This isn't over. You have no idea how deep this goes. Luna and I were escorted out while agents swarmed the hospital. The tunnels were photographed, catalogued, locked down. The files I'd found sparked a chain reaction, arrests in 3 different states. But Blackwood had been right about one thing. This web was bigger than anyone wanted to believe. Morrison was picked up at his home the next morning. The truth came out. A network of corrupt law enforcement, medical staff, and others who'd been trafficking children for 15 years. Caspian, Dorian's brother, was caught trying to slip across the Canadian border. His interrogation gave up hidden locations where more kids were being kept. Over the next 6 months, 43 children were rescued alive. The buyers? Wealthy predators who treated them like disposable property. The thought still makes me sick. Evangeline testified at trial. She'd known for years but had been too terrified to speak. That night under anesthesia had saved dozens of lives. "I think I wanted to be caught," she told me when we met for coffee a year later. "The guilt was eating me alive." Luna found a home with a family who treated her with the love she deserved. She still visits the hospital sometimes. "So I can help people like you helped me," she says. "I'm still an anesthesiologist, but I hear things differently now. Every word a patient mumbles under sedation gets documented. You never know when someone's truth is slipping out, desperate to be heard." Blackwood will never see the outside of a prison again. Life without parole. In court, he never once apologized. Insisted he was providing a service to people with specialized needs. The playground where those 7 children died? It's a memorial garden now. Their names are carved in stone, alongside every other victim we identified. On hard days, I go there. It reminds me why I keep doing this work. Last month, a patient started muttering under anesthesia about her husband's secret storage unit, about missing hikers and shallow graves in the mountains. I wrote down every word, because now someone is always listening. We've even formalized it, a system to train other anesthesiologists to recognize these trauma-borne confessions and report them. We call it the Evangeline Protocol. 3 months ago, a little boy named Finn, only 7, began babbling during a tonsillectomy about his stepfather's special games. The details cracked open a local child abuse ring tied to a youth sports league. 12 more kids saved because someone was paying attention. The work takes a toll. I've started therapy because those faces in the tunnels still visit me in the night. I think about the ones we couldn't reach in time. But I also think about Luna laughing in her backyard. About the 43 survivors building new lives. About families finally getting answers. Last week, Dr. Patel came to me with a research proposal. He wants to study why anesthesia sometimes shakes secrets loose from the human mind, the neurological pathways that let buried memories spill out. "This could change how we investigate crimes," he said, "and maybe it could save the next Luna before she ever ends up in the dark."